Hello once again, everyone, to Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing, the Fawn Pod, the Fawn Cast. This is Cody. I can't believe I'm about to say these words. I'm here with the review of the final James Bond movie, 6 months later. Oh, no time to die. I didn't think I was ever going to get here for a while when I saw the checklist of how many movies I had to get through and how many things I had to rate between here and then. Man, I actually thought at first this would go much faster, but as you can tell, this took a very long time for me to get through. Let's talk about the last movie, No Time to Die, today. Before we do that, just purely because of my time frame with how I am scheduling this to be recorded today, I will not have time to go through and give my final summary and thoughts on the Bond series. So I will have one more final wrap up, which I will call Bond James Bond, which will come out soon as well. But I'll go through that one, give out awards for the best Bond, best movie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll go from there. So let's talk about No Time to Die. First time I had ever seen this movie. Um, it was something. Let's say that. It was something. So here we go. Let's start it off. Same order we've been doing all through these. We're looking at the title and theme to get us started today. Our title on this one, No Time to Die. I like it. I like it a lot. It's kind of like a Bond doesn't have time to die. Ooh. Or as hinted at in the movie by a character, there's a phrase very similar to this that basically says, uh, don't die or something. This is no time to die or something like that. I forget what the exact quote there is, but it's good. It's a good title, especially now knowing what happens in this last movie. This is a very apropos title for the final movie. So I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 on the title. And then for the theme in this one, we have Billie Eilish. Sorry, a little pause here. Billie Eilish, who's singing "No Time to Die" with that really sultry, whispery voice that she has. I don't know if it's a great singing voice or not, but that's not necessarily what I'm judging here today. I'm taking a look at the theme itself. It's very quiet. It is almost kind of said the entire thing as a whisper, and it's uh, it's good. Man, it makes you have some feelings. Um, and I think after you've heard the song and then watched the movie and then listened to the song again, that takes on a whole nother level of meaning and of emotional depth. So we're gonna give the movie theme in this one a 9 out of 10. This was my second or third, I forget, third, I think, ranked highest song when we did the rankings. 9 out of 10 on this one. This movie's off to a good start to begin with. Okay, next up, we're taking a look at our performances, the Bond portrayal, the Bond women, and the villains in this. Let's take a look how it does here. We have Bond portrayal. Daniel Craig is solid yet again in this one. Um, I do feel like he was a little bit off, and I don't know if because he knew this was going to be the end or how that was going to happen, but it felt like this was just, I don't know, oddly not his best performance of the five. It was still really good though, but I'm only going to give him a 14 out of 15 on this one. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he was solid. So good job to Daniel Craig, right up to the last minute. Good job. All right, the women in this movie. I had seen some still frames from the movie featuring Lashana Lynch, and that's who I assumed was going to be the main Bond lady in this film. She is featured somewhat, and she is more of the action person in the film from the female side, at least. Um, Madeline does come back. I was wrong in my prediction there. She is back, at first fighting with Bond after they break up basically, but then kind of coming back into the picture later on with Bond and another character, which we'll mention here in just a minute. But the two of them together do a really nice job. I had, wished one of them would have had all of the screen time to really make more of an impression in this category. And there's a lot of emotional resonance here with Madeline, but I'm not counting that as necessarily the performance here for the lady. Still looking for more of the equal character to Bond, and together these two are Nomi. That's Lashana Lynch's character is the very physical, badass new 007. Madeline's the really emotional side and the connection with Bond. A lot of range there. So together they got a 12 out of 15. Which is one of our higher scores. Let's just leave that at that for right now. And the villains in this movie, we have is it Saffron? Is that how you say the name in this one? It's got a weird name. This is Safin. I guess it's just called Safin. This is Rami Malek's character. Rami Malek. Anyway, Safin is the villain here, who is kind of an interesting character. He is motivated by some odd things we'll talk about here in the plot in just a second, and is a good foil for Bond. Definitely is on his wit level, shall we say, outsmarting Bond as much as he can. So, Safin, I give 7 out of 10 to. Not the worst we've seen, not the best we've seen, but we'll always have the special designation of being the villain in this movie. Okay, plot and action. Moving on. Here we go. Plot and action. Here is our plot outline. And this one's a little longer because it is both a long movie and has a lot going on. So here we go. A young Madeline Swan witnesses the murder of her mother by the terrorist Safin, whose family was assassinated by Swan's father, Mr. White, under orders from Blofeld, who is also in this movie, we should point out. I didn't count him for villain here because it's very minor. Swan shoots Safin and flees, falls into a frozen lake, but he actually rescues her. Years later, after Blofeld's arrest, Swan travels to Matera with James Bond. She persuades Bond to visit the nearby grave of his ex-lover, Vesper Lynd, where he survives an explosion orchestrated by Spectre operatives led by Primo, a mercenary with a bionic eye. Bond escapes with Swan, but ends their relationship believing that she betrayed him. 5 years later, Spectre agents extract MI6 scientist Valdo Ubruchev, who secretly works for Safin from a laboratory in London, steals Project Heracles, a programmable DNA targeting nanobot bioweapon. Did you catch all that? A programmable DNA targeting nanobot bioweapon. Good Lord. Developed under M's oversight. Retired and living in Jamaica, Bond is contacted by the CIA ally Felix Leiter and the State Department agent Logan Ash, who ask for Bond's help extracting Ubrachev from a Spectre party in Cuba. Bond declines, but later accepts after Nomi, his successor as Agent 007, warns him not to interfere with her own extraction of Obruchev and puts him in contact with M, who refuses to answer his questions about Heracles. Bond infiltrates the party with Paloma, a Cuban agent assisting Leiter. This is Ana de Armas' character who makes a splashy little entrance into the movie here. Blofeld, overseeing the gathering from Belmarsh prison through Primo's bionic eye, disperses a nanobot mist to kill Bond. However, Obruchev reprogrammed the nanobots under Safin's orders to kill the Spectre members instead. This was kind of a memorable scene, I will say. Um, just watching all of the members of Spectre drop and die because I kind of assumed Spectre would be more or less the bad guy in this last movie. And they kind of have an unceremonious ending, so kind of weird to see Spectre wrapped up that way. Outmaneuvering Nomi with Paloma's help, Bond brings Obrechev to Ash and Leiter aboard a trawler Ash, also working for Safin, shoots Leiter and traps him with Bond below deck. Fleeing with Obrachev after blowing up the ship, Leiter dies of his wounds and tells Bond, "You gotta leave. You gotta leave, kid." Jeffrey Wright. So, Bond escapes. Bond returns to London, seeking to interrogate Blofeld about Ubruchev's employer, but Blofeld reportedly only speaks to his psychiatrist, Swan. Safin coerces Swan into infecting herself with a nanobot dose to assassinate Blofeld. Meeting Swan in Belmarsh, Bond unknowingly infected himself with Swan's nanobots. Swan is too scared to confront Blofeld, who reveals to Bond that he had planned the explosion at Vesper's grave to make Bond believe that Swan betrayed him. Enraged, Bond briefly strangles Blofeld, unknowingly allowing the nanobots to enter into his system and kill him. So basically, Bond did not really beat up Blofeld, but Blofeld died from the encounter anyway. Bond tracks Swan to her childhood home in Norway, where they reconcile, and he meets her 5-year-old daughter, Mathilde. Swan insists she's not his child and shares intelligence her father gathered about Safin and the island his family owned. The following day, MI6 alerts Bond that Ash is approaching, leading to Ash and several armed thugs ambushing Bond, Mathilda, and Swan, chasing them into a nearby forest. This was a pretty cool scene, actually, real smoky, hazy firefight that took place there. Bond orders Swan and Matilda to hide in the forest while he confronts Ash and his forces. He defeats Ash's men before killing Ash, thus avenging Felix Leiter's death, but Safin kidnaps Swan and Matilda. Q provides Bond and Nomi with a submersible glider to infiltrate Safin's headquarters, a missile base in the Sea of Japan converted into a nanobot factory. Bond and Nomi plan to rescue Swan and Matilda before ordering a missile strike on the facility. Bond confronts Safin, who flees with Matilda, but later releases her while Swan escapes and reunites with Bond and Matilda. Nomi kills Ubrichev by kicking him into an acid pool, then escorts Swan and Matilda off the island. Bond kills Safin's remaining men, including Primo, then stays to open the silo doors for the missiles that have been launched from the HMS Dragon to penetrate the base. Bond rushes back to the control room and the silo doors begin closing. But he's ambushed by Safin, who infects him with a nanobot vial programmed to kill Swan and Matilda. So even if he did leave, he wouldn't be able to touch them. Bond swoops Safin dead and reopens the silo doors, but he chooses to remain on the island and die to keep Swan and Matilda safe. He radios Swan to say goodbye, expressing his love for her and Matilda, who she confirms is his daughter. The missiles destroy the facility, and Bond dies in the resulting explosion. It's a pretty awesome death scene, I will say, too, with everything just going up around him in fire and smoke. Later at MI6, M, Moneypenny, Nomi, Q, and Bill Tanner drink to Bond's memory. Driving Matilda to Matera, Swan tells a story about a man named Bond, James Bond. Oh boy, what a movie. Plot, pretty good in this one. 24 out of 30. And favorite, oh, sorry. Well, yeah, we'll throw action in here next. Action in this movie, fantastic. 14 out of 15. And just everything you can imagine. Amped up again, fights, chases. It's all really well done in this film. And favorite movie here, I don't know if I have a favorite movie, but I'm going to go with when James Bond says you have all the time in the world, because that was a reference to the Louis Armstrong song that was in the first movie where Bond had a true love that he could see a future with when he got married, and then she was shot. That was back when they had Lazenby as Bond. Okay, so let's add this all up here. We got 14, 24, 7, 12, 14, 9, and 4. Going to give us a grand total of 84 tonight for No Time to Die. That is going to be a fantastic score. Does it crack our top 5? Find out in the next episode. But it is certified classic in this one. No Time to Die. Man, I had a lot of feelings watching Bond go down. That was tough to see. All right. That's it for this time. We'll come back with a summary episode, everybody. This has been Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. It's been Cody on the Fawn Pod, the Fawncast, with another of our James Bond 60th anniversary watch alongs. Take care.